gonna flip it over and flip it around. Give me my finger. There we go. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're working back on the 52 Chevy project. This time we're going to continue on with part 2 of the floor in the truck. All the paint that we did in the last video has been dried, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the painter's tape, get that out of there. We're going to make up some templates of the floor, get that transferred over to the 11 gauge steel. We're going to get that cut out and welded into place. So let's not waste any time and get right to it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the painter's tape, get this out of there, get the cardboard out of here, get everything prepped to start making a template inside the cab here. So we're just going to take this painter's tape off. Everything's nice and dry now. This worked really well because I didn't want to get paint on these surfaces here because this is where we're going to be welding through the floor to tack it back down into place. So now we're going to grab the paper and we're going to start making templates for mostly the edges here, because it's 21 inches from here out to here, and that's exactly what the 11 gauge piece of steel is. It's 21 inches. So the width is going to be fine. It's just getting this curve right here because it kind of leans inwards. It's not a perfectly straight line out here. So I'm thinking I might have to trim the edge up just a little bit to fit in here. But it should go relatively easy. I might hit this with the wire wheel a little bit more, or the grinding wheel, just to finish cleaning stuff up here. So we'll come back and get this template made, get that sheet cut, get it welded down into place. I just went to Harbor Freight and picked up this 4-foot 5,000 lumen LED light. I'm going to use this to actually hang inside the roof of the truck so we can actually see what we're working on when we're putting the floor on, when we're working on the dash later on, cleaning up the inside of the cab. So we're going to put this in there right now, get this powered on. So I also picked up some bungee cords, some little bungee cords from Harbor Freight. And the idea would be to actually hang this from the drip rail on the inside with bungee cords. So we'll see if we have to modify these bungee cords at all. We're going to hang this up right now, see how it goes. Comes with a chain and a pull string. Don't really need that. It's really light. It's only like 1.7 pounds, I believe. So really light, really small. It should be pretty bright too. So let's see, we've got two 10-inch long. I might have to make the bungee cords just a little bit shorter. We've got these little short ones here, and they might work out really well because they'll fit inside here. So I want this up here like this. So I need this really short. So I'm going to shorten one of these bungee cords. In theory, it's going to go like this. I'm going to take this one over to the other side. That light will get hung. I'm going to shorten the bungee cord on this side the exact same way I did the other side. Hopefully it'll be tight enough to hold. All we need to do is power this light up now. Do something like this. Let's see how bright this is in here. Oh, perfect. I'll get you in close so you can take a look. So we added the light up here. It actually lights up the cab really well. This will work great for welding in the floor, which we're about to do right now. Making the templates, welding in the floor, working on the dash, and finishing up the rest of the inside of the cab. Plenty of light in here now. The 5,000 lumen little LED shop light from Harbor Freight for about 20 bucks. So this is the piece of steel we're going to be using for the actual floor. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a measurement of how wide this is here. So this piece of steel is exactly 21 inches wide. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually replicate this piece of steel onto the poster board over here, the white poster board. So we're going to cut the white poster board down to 21 inches wide first, and then we'll take that into the cab and we'll use that for along these edges here, because these edges aren't perfectly straight right along in here, because I might have the floor kick out to the side a little bit on this side in here, poke in there a little bit, come along in here. So I just want to make sure that we get these edges perfectly. Once we get both sides done here and over here, we'll measure between the two and we'll replicate the edges down onto this piece of steel right there. Cut that out, lay that in place and see how it fits. So I've got two pieces of poster board here. The poster board is actually 22 inches wide. So I'm going to cut the width down to 21 inches to match the steel we're using. I'll do this on both sheets. Cut this down to 21 inches each. So we've got our two sheets of paper, poster board that we're going to be using for templates. Now we're going to take these and set them into the truck and get the edges figured out. See right here how it's not perfectly straight. This is level right against the back here, which is what I'm going with, is my straight line along the seat riser. Slide this over till this edge here is within about there away, like that. Take the pencil, I'm going to mark along the edge. Right there, I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch in from there. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go straight to tip. I'll just make that perfectly straight along there. Now I just need to modify it up here a little bit, and this one will be done. We'll do the exact same thing over on the driver's side. We'll splice these together and replicate this entire floor pattern to the piece of steel. So I'm just working on this section and right here. Now this section pretty much is all set. I'm just gonna square that up in a minute. We're gonna work on the driver's side right now. So right now we've got the floor template all mocked up. It does go up in little corners like that, cut across. Same thing over in this corner. I've kind of got it going into the side panel just a little bit right over there to make these side panels a little easier when we want to make them. The panel will come right along the front of the seat riser all the way across, and it's got a little bit of a gap, maybe like a 1/4 inch space between before it rolls over the side, so I could weld along here and nicely weld it over. We're going to have a lip running all along here anyway, so you're not going to see it, so that will blend the flooring on the edge. This whole thing will end up being dynamatted or fat maxed or whatever soundproofing I want to put on here, and carpet, so you're really not going to see anything that we're doing, but I'm going to know the floor is super solid and pretty much bomb proof with 11 gauge piece of steel in there. So right now we're going to take these templates out. I have them marked in the center right here so I know exactly where they overlap. We're going to lay these right back down onto the 11 gauge piece of steel and then trace out these edges to cut those out. We'll cut the edges out on both sides and lay the entire 11 gauge piece of steel back down in here, and it should fit up perfectly if we measured correctly, which I've measured about 10 times at this point, so I think we're going to be in really good shape. So let's get this pulled out and put the 11 gauge piece of steel on the ground. We'll set these right back down onto the 11 gauge steel, trace it out, cut it out, plop it back in, see how it looks. Now we're going to set down the templates we just cut out for the truck floor. This one will go here. So you can see how much we need to cut, the angle it's at. And this one will go here. And that is exactly our template. So right now I've got the template laid down onto the piece of steel. You can see where we need to cut. Right along here, notch it out down there, and do the exact same thing. I've got it marked right here where they meet together. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side, and everything should fit really well. So we're going to mark this right now and get this cut out. So right now you can see where we're going to be cutting. Right along this section here, all nicely marked out using the templates we just did. This is the passenger side, that's the front. Up here, this will be the back towards the seat riser. And over on the driver's side, we're cutting it right along this line here, all the way up there. So we're going to get this cut out right now, probably using the jigsaw. Use the jigsaw to cut that. My eye protection, because this will shoot little shards of metal everywhere. Make sure you use eye protection for this. Protect your eyeballs, kids. There we go. It's pretty good. Now we're going to flip over and do the driver's side right over there. Same thing, cut here, and then worry about the notches. Grab the flap wheel and get the edges cleaned up now. So I'm going to use the flap wheel on the grinder right now just to smooth off these edges because I got little burrs and stuff from cutting. So right now this thing's all cleaned up around the edges. We're gonna pick this up and we're gonna try to set it into the truck to see if it fits. Pardon my buttocks if you see it. It actually fits really good so far. So right now we've got the floor set in place right now. I've got an even space on both sides, driver's side and the passenger side. But right now, it kind of needs to get set down and pushed down harder for what we need to do, because we need to go up underneath the truck and trace out where all the brackets are, so I know where to drill all the holes where we're going to spot weld this down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 40-pound salt bags that go to my water softener. I'm just going to lay these on top of the floor here just to weigh it down, to add some weight, make sure it's pushed down nicely onto the brackets so we can properly trace them all out. So we're going to do that right now. Add the salt, jack the truck up in the air. That's 120 pounds holding this floor down right now. So right now we're going to jack the truck up in the air. Up, up, and away we go. So now we're going to go underneath the truck and we're going to trace out on the bottom of the floor where all the brackets are, so I know where I need to drill so we can actually weld through the top of the floor down onto the brackets, securing the floor down to the framework. So we're up underneath the truck right now, and you can see the brackets are right here, and this is the new floor we just set in place right there. This is the only bracket support that needs to be pushed up just a little bit to touch the floor. The rest of them are nice and solid and nicely connected all the way along, which is absolutely perfect. So we need to mark where all these supports are on the underside of the floor. Once we mark that, we're going to take this floor back out, set it on some work stands, and actually drill out tons of holes all along in here, around all the edges, just to weld this floor down completely. So right now I think I have all the brackets marked out on the floor above me. I need to figure out where the shifter is going to go, but I might be able to position that after the fact. So we're going to go up top again and take a look, see if I can just mark in relative location to where the shifter will be, and we'll get that drilled out along with the 2 bolt holes that bolt the body down to the actual frame. We're going to drop the truck down on the lift right now, get back inside just to check everything over and try to see if we can mock up where the shifter is going to go and where the 2 bolts down to the frame are going to go to hold the body down. So before we take the floor back out, I'm going to mark exactly where the edge is on both sides so I know exactly where to put it back in, so I don't have to reposition it at all. So I'm just going to draw a line with the Sharpie signifying the edge. Maybe just do a couple of these so I know exactly where it lines up. I'm going to do this on the other side too. I'm going to get the salt bags taken out right now so they're out of the way. I'm going to mark the center line for where the transmission will be. I want a center line down the entire center of the floor. Then we can figure out where the shifter hole will go in the floor right here. And it looks like my lines are all still lining up perfectly, so I know the floor didn't move when I took those out. Now we need to get in here and just figure out where's the center going to go for the shifter. Right around here somewhere. So I know where the center of the transmission is, so I can see that. I'm going to mark that onto the floor. We'll go from there. So the center of the transmission is right here. I really just want to draw a straight line down the center here. Then I know exactly where this will be here. I can mark on the transmission. Then we'll measure back on the transmission and exactly figure out where the shifter knob will be. Get that drilled out too. So I just mark the center line here. 54.75 divided by 2 is 27.375 is the halfway point. So 27.375. So I've got that marked. So right now we're going to set up some work stands and we're going to take the floor out and set the floor onto the work stands, figure out where the shifter knob's going to go, figure out where the bolts we're going to go through for the floor mounts to bolt the body down to the frame. And after that's done, we're going to start drilling holes all the way around the perimeter of the actual floor along with the brackets on the inside, getting it ready for welding the floor into place. So next thing up, we're going to measure in the cab where we want to actually put the shifter, which I think will be pretty easy to measure, and the 2 floor mounts, get those marked. Get everything cut out, get everything drilled, welded in place. Get this tire out of the way to give us some room. So right now I'm going to mark down the center of the floor, and I checked inside where the markings we made and it was dead center, so that's good. I'm just going to mark the exact center here. This is how we're going to figure out where we're going to actually put the transmission shifter hole So right there is centered, just like that. So I'm gonna run a line straight across. So that's our center line we're working with. So now I know I can measure from this point, from the front of the floor, back a certain distance, maybe from the back to the front a certain distance, and we know how wide this shift will be, and it will be squared right in here. So I'm gonna measure from the front back right now on the actual transmission, how far back that transmission hole is. So I know 6 inches back from the front and to 10 inches. So 6 inches will be right here, and then 10 inches will be right here. That'll give us about a 1/4 inch spacing around it. Now I just need to figure out the width. We'll measure that. So we got to go over 2 inches to the left here. Should be right here. 2 inches to the left. We're going to go over 2.5 inches to the right. Should be here. Like that. So now I just need to square this up and probably drill the corners and just use the jigsaw to cut that out. I've got the majority of this cut out. I'm just going to do the corners with the jigsaw. All nicely cut out. I'm going to use the flap wheel and just smooth that out now. Get the burrs off. There you go, that's all nicely cleaned up now. So now we're going to go and measure for the holes we need to drill in these locations to mount the body to the frame. So right now I flipped it over and you actually can see the framework, all these lines. This is the framework underneath. I'm going to base off the holes I need to drill off of the framework. So I know this is the driver's side, this is the passenger side, this is the front of the floor, this is the back of the floor towards the seat riser. So now we need to measure how far from here over, and then this will be pretty much centered. So I know 2 inches is center. So I'm going to mark the center right now down here. Then it's just a matter of how far over we need to go this way. Let's say 1 3/8 over from here. I need to measure over 1 3/8 on this side and mark it. So I know exactly where we need to drill for the body mounts. So I'm gonna go see what hole saws I have, what might work. This hole saw right here is a Lennox 2-inch bimetal hole saw. And I'm thinking this will hopefully chew through and do what we need to do. So we're gonna try this one right now. Right tool for the job, works really well. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Let me do a pilot hole again. We'll hit both sides with the flap wheel just to clean off any burrs. So I've got this nice and cleaned up now. We've got the hole for the shifter right here. We've got the hole to bolt the body down to the frame, cut on both sides. Now we just need to flip it over and just start drilling holes where all the brackets are so we can tack this floor into place and we'll be done with the floor. So right now we've got the 2 holes here, these 2-inch holes. Both ends here and there are drilled out so you can actually have access to put the bolts into the body to hold the body down to the frame. And we have the shifter hole cut out, so the shifter will be right in this location here. This is upside down right now. So you can see the marks we did. These are where the brackets are, all these markers. That's where the brackets are underneath. So we need to drill holes all along here. We're gonna widen the holes out. We're gonna start with an 1/8-inch bit. Drill some pilot holes all the way around the edges, everywhere on here where these brackets are, all along here. And then we're gonna widen those holes to make it big enough so we can actually get spot welds into them. We're gonna spot weld this right down into place for the floor and it won't come back out again. So that's what we're gonna work on right now is we're just gonna start drilling tons and tons of holes. Now we just need to do the back sides. So I'm gonna flip this around to make it easier to work on. So I'm not leaning over everything. Everything else has been pre-drilled all along here. Switch drill bits from the 1/8 drill bit. I think I'm gonna go with 1/4 inch holes. Just for giggles. Let's see what happens if I step it up one more. Size we want to go to. What size do we want to try? Go 5/16. Sure, why not? Sweep up all the shards up here, and we're gonna flap wheel down over all these to make sure there's no burrs on them. Flip it over, flap wheel all that, and get that ready for welding. And then we'll set this back in place in the truck. Everything should line up where it's supposed to be, and we'll start welding this in. The floor will be done. So the bottom side is completely flap wheeled. We're gonna flip the floor over now. I'm gonna flip it over and flip it around. Give me my finger. There we go. There we go. You can see a lot of burrs on this side, but you can see where all the brackets will be, where we're gonna be welding down. Holes everywhere. There we go, thing's ready for welding. So right now the floor is 100% ready to weld into place. We're gonna take the floor, get it back in the truck, weld it in place. And we're gonna set it right back into place on the floor where we want it. So the last thing we need to do is we need to grind down all the spot welds we just did. So that's what we're gonna work on right now. All right, so I got all the main spot welds ground down with the main grinding wheel, and I'm switching over to the flap wheel just to give everything a nice once over, smooth everything out permanently. This one little weld here was porous on the inside. I'll touch that up when I do the kick panel next week. So for this week, we just want to get everything smoothed out, and the floor is almost done. All right, everyone, that's gonna be a wrap for this video. As you can see, we got the truck floor 100% completely installed, cut out, welded in place, smoothed down, ready for paint. So coming up in next week's part 3 video of the floor series, we've got to do the kick panel. So we're going to be taking a piece of 11 gauge steel and working that little final angle on the bottom of the kick panel of the firewall. So as always, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, smash that big red subscribe button, smash that little bell icon so you know when I do post future videos, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.